Hello and welcome to Sugar, Silk and Stretch, a unique boxing podcast brought to you exclusively by Ace Podcast Nation. My name is Ben Doughty.
I'm Gary Stretch.
I'm the demoted Michael Silgalajide.
Fellas, a little later than we planned due to the usual logistical challenges we face. The show was going to focus on Conor Benn, his Las Vegas debut, and the light heavyweight domestic clash in London tomorrow night. But all that's been overshadowed in the last couple of hours by the shocking news, although some people said it wasn't a big shock, that Tyson Fury has pulled out of the February 17th date with Alexander Usyk due to a cut sustained in sparring from an elbow. Which one of you wants to come in first?
Well, we'll let, he was Gary's guy, so. Well, he was your guy too, wasn't he?
It looked like a headbutt, actually. I was watching the video on YouTube. It didn't show. It was kind of off camera, but it looked more like it was a head, the clash of heads. But they're saying elbow, but it looked. And he was wearing headgear, which is strange. So, which he normally doesn't wear, apparently. So he was wearing headgear, and he got cut somehow. But it looks like they said 25 stitches. That'll be inside and out. So probably 12 and 12. So it looked like a decent cut. So yes, tragedy. And some people were saying they thought it was going to happen. He was going to pull out, but I think that's a lot of rubbish. I'm sure he was very much.
Well, where did the other stitch go? If it was 12 and 12, 12 on the outside.
They normally do inside and outside, don't they? You know, they do 12 inside, 12 outside.
Yeah, they do 12 under and they 12 on top.
12 under and 12, yeah, inside and outside. But I'm sure he's devastated. He looked like. His face looked certainly like he leaner than before, so he looked like he was probably in serious training. So it's a tragedy for everybody.
Well, that's the exact same thing that I was thinking, actually, Gary. And to agree with you on this, he was training hard. He was training to get in shape. He's probably doing it all last second. And what happens with when a fighter loses an excessive amount of weight quickly, especially on the face and stuff like that, the bone, you cut easier, basically. He's probably lost weight in his face, and he doesn't have as much, resiliency. The skin to bone, and either elbow, I would think a headbutt. Headbutts can happen even with head guards on. In fact, they're more apt to happen in sparring with a head guard on than anywhere else.
I never used headgear ever. I used to get hit too much with it on,
Yeah, head guards are typically that way.
Can somebody tell my friend Chrissy Morton, who knows watching? She was saying the white collars sparring without the headgear on is unprofessional and it makes us look bad. And I said, if they really want to get technical, certain fighters never use headgear. I cited the example of Mike Tyson, but Gary Stretch is one I will add to that list.
I'll tell you for why. You've got a target which is probably 20% bigger. You get used to getting little silly tagged shots which don't affect you, and then you take it off and your timing is not the same with headgear on and with it off. So I never in my whole career got cut in the gym, and I never ever wore headgear. I found it was negative to me, to my timing, to my distance, everything about it was I didn't like it, and it's a false representation. If you're going to take it off to fight, you're training for 10 weeks, 12 weeks with it on, and then you take it off. There's difference. It's for me. It wasn't for me. Normally,
head guards.
Normally, if the opponent has a headgear on, that normally is somewhat protection of clashing of heads. Because if someone's got headgear on, then
one of them, yeah.
But no, I never wore it, and never would. It just didn't work for me.
It gives you a false sense of security, that's for sure, and it doesn't lessen. It doesn't lessen the effect of a punch. In fact, it can certainly magnify it, because shots that would be grazing you would actually be hitting you much more full. And there are just so many things about it. I wore it on purpose. I wore it all the time in training, and I was cut with a headbutt. My very first cut was when I was sparring with a guy, and we both had headgears on, and he headbutt me and cut.
I remember when I was an amateur, I wore it a couple of times, and I had like grazes from the laces on the headgear, and it was, for me, it was just negative. And again, like you say, it doesn't affect the brain damage. It intensifies. It's like wearing a crash helmet. You hit it, it shakes. The only one thing it's good for is cuts, and obviously Tyson Fury just got cut wearing headgear. So what's it good for? You know.
The conspiracy theorists have been out. I've heard someone suggest already, a former professional boxer, that he's cut himself sparring without headgear, probably, and then they've staged that video that's doing the rounds with a headguard on to make it look to make it seem as if, you know.
Oh man, there's always something. You can't fight all this stuff. Everyone has their points of view and their opinion, and they're ill-informed, and they think that there's always something wrong. They never think everything is like it's just going to happen. Stuff happens.
Accidents happen. It's boxing. You know, that's part of the game. It happens. It's happened. So they're going to have to reschedule. And hopefully, if I was Usyk, I would sit out. I wouldn't let someone else come in. It's too risky. I think they were throwing Herbovich's name around. They also threw Parker's name around. I think Parker's a big banana skin for him. I think Parker would beat him.
He won't take it. I don't think he'll take a fight. No.
It's too big, too much money, and he could lose because all of these guys at that weight, the top 3 or 4, it's a 50-50 fight. So
I heard Philip Hergovich's name thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
They were talking about that possibility that he would step in, but I think it's more likely that Usyk won't fight until the rescheduling, which some people say.
Giving Usyk's character and the fact that he loves fighting and the fact that he wants to, I'm sure his corner or his management is going to have to speak to him about that, not fighting. And if he does fight, he may fight somebody significantly less. The element of danger is lessened. I would think.
All the names are getting thrown in. Robin Katani said, "I'd like to see Zhang." Gary said he wouldn't mind seeing Joyce if they're going to go down that road. So all the names are getting thrown out there.
I think they're all banana skins, and I think it would be tragic if we lose the Fury Usyk fight. But, it wouldn't have the same effect if Herbovich or someone won and then Fury fought him. It's the romance of that big date, the big fight.
Yeah,
off.
but Fury
will not fight Usyk. If Usyk loses, Fury's only interest will be whoever beats him. He'll say he's a bum. I'll fight the winner. I know.
I mean, we don't love to see that fight, but Fury did enough to kind of like pull a dark cloud over that fight in the first place, getting dropped by the kickboxer.
I think he actually sold the fight better because imagine Fury had never entered into that. Imagine if he'd never entered into that.
Imagine, but
wait. Imagine if he'd never entered into it and we only had Usyk Dubois to go on. I think Fury would be a significantly bigger favourite. Whereas now it's really 50-50 and lots of people are picking Usyk based on what happened with Ngannou, right?
No, but the thing is, if he would have taken care of Ngannou, not fought him, if he would have taken care of Ngannou the way he should have, then this fight would have been even a bigger draw than what it is. Absolutely.
I think a lot of the intrigue is based on the Ngannou fight. I really do. So I understand.
Oh no.
I respect your point of view on it, but
man. No way. No way. If he went in and he just thumped the heavyweight champion of the UFC and whatever, and just knocked him out, just like beat him the way he should have, without even a thought, without even any issue whatsoever, without getting knocked down, without, you know what I mean? It going the distance. I'm telling you, the fight would have been double or triple what it is. I'm sure what it is going in.
I don't think.
And if anything, Usyk would have to carry the torch a little bit higher. Usyk coming off the other fight.
I think Fury would have been a significant, prohibitive favourite if he hadn't had the example of Ngannou going off the back of Usyk's performance against Dubois. Whereas the intrigue is based. It's there anyway. Don't get me wrong, it's there. But the intrigue was heightened by the Ngannou thing, I think.
Yeah, neither one of their last performances, were so exciting that you'd think, oh my God, I can't wait for this fight to happen. But, without a doubt, I think Tyson Fury did the most damage to it.
In what regard?
Yeah.
Well, he got dropped by a kickboxer.
That didn't damage the Usyk fight, the anticipation.
He got dropped by arguably the biggest puncher, so they say, in the sport. So, I mean, and the thing is with Tyson Fury, it's not like he's never been dropped before. He's been dropped in most of his big fights, and he always gets up and wins. I mean, that's part of his character. I think it was a bad performance, like Ben says. It just added intrigue because before that fight, I think everyone was on Fury to beat Usyk quite comfortably. Now it's a 50-50 fight. So it only made the fight more competitive, I think.
Well,
And I
did-
still
what
don't,
did-
I still don't think it's a 50-50 fight. Like I said on the other podcast, I think Fury shocks everybody and just smashes him to pieces.
No, absolutely not. I think this.
Absolutely think it's going to be a shocker. It's either going to be a stinker of all stinkers where neither one hits each other for 12 rounds, awkward styles, or I think Fury just bashes him up. And based
No,
on the Dubois fight, with the state of Usyk's brain, with the constantly complaining and then rolling around for 3 hours with a shot that was not really low, he could have done a lot less Oscar performance. And I mean, that was definitely acting, and he was
Why was he acting though?
uncomfortable.
He must have been hurt, right?
To the body. I mean, it showed it was on the belt line, but if you look at it, it's very clear it's not low. It was below the belt line, so technically yes, but as a physical shot, it was in the stomach area. It was not in the groin. So if he got hurt to the stomach, that's another negative. I know Dubois is a big puncher, but I mean, 4.5 minutes is a long time when he was looking very uncomfortable for quite some time before that. So I just think it showed a lot of cracks in his armor. Up to that point, I thought he had the best mind in the game, but then I couldn't believe the amount of times he complained. I couldn't believe the rolling round with the shot when clearly it was borderline, but it wasn't in the nuts. And he played it like it was. So, he showed, I think, some mental weakness in the fight. And I think you can't be in any way mentally weak to fight a Tyson Fury. I think he's got the strongest mind.
I don't think there was a mental weakness at all. I think that he got up off the canvas and he thumped Dubois. I mean, he absolutely beat him. If Dubois had an advantage or he had the strength going in, then why not follow up with it?
I think he got up off the canvas and he had a second wind, and I think Dubois shriveled in the like his demise was. He thought he'd won it, then he had to do it all again, and he wasn't out of there. I think Dubois went into a negative mode, and he took advantage of it because
come on, Gary, you as a fighter, right? You as a fighter, if you hurt somebody and the referee gives him 2 minutes to recover, you're not all of a sudden thinking, "Oh my God, I'm over." The referee allowed him to recover. You think you can hit? You think, okay, I'm going to hit him harder. I'm going to hit him again, and I'm going to knock him out.
That was the shocking factor, was that Dubois didn't go after him. He seemed to be like somewhat in shock, and then the fight started again, and Dubois didn't even get in the fight after they started again. That's what I'm saying is there's a drastic change in Dubois' mental state when he got up, because when he got up to that point, it was competitive, the fight. After that point, it wasn't. Usyk did what a good champion does, and took over. And
exactly. Now that's the point we're talking about.
I understand that, but I don't understand why Dubois didn't even try. He didn't even, I thought he'd have gone after him for a minute or whatever.
But he felt, what happens in a fight? There's an energy between two fighters that only two fighters can see. And the referee doesn't see it, the cornermen don't see it, all the rest of that. You're vibing with the guy that's in front of you. You guys have this dynamic, this energy that's going back and forth. When one guy's dominant and the other guy's a little bit more, you know what I mean? A little bit more laid back, and then you feel it switch. Things happen in that ring that aren't visible, but to only two pair of eyes. And that's what happened in that fight. I think when Usyk got up, Usyk was able to recalibrate, and he had a different type of determination. The way he planted his feet were different. The way he went at Dubois was different. It was subtle, but it was different. Now he was looking like, I'm going to get you back. And Dubois realized that, and he felt like, okay, I think maybe I'm a little bit out of my depths here. And that's what caused him to collapse.
At the risk of going over old ground, if we can focus forward on what happens now, because I think we had that all out about what we gleaned from the Usyk.
Well, we were stating a different point related to the point of
Either way, I think that moving forward, I think the smart thing for Usyk would be to sit it out and wait for Fury. I think there's 2 or 3 heavyweights that are risky for him. I think Joseph Parker's a massive risk for Usyk. I think Parker would beat Usyk. I think he's in great form. It'd be his 4th or 5th fight in a year. I think he's razor sharp.
The
I
kid that
honestly
just
think
beat.
I think it'd be too much for Usyk.